Let's go.
Dr. Rosie Milligan, one of the most sought-after speakers on the circuit today. Her live internet talk show, Express Yourself, is the most provocative, thought-provoking, and talked-about radio show on the internet. There's no holds barred, and Dr. Milligan puts the B in bold. She brings it every Tuesday live at 10 a.m. Pacific and 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Dr. Rosie has been proclaimed the most provocative female writer of the century. Her books include Satisfying the Black Man and Black Woman Sexually Made Simple, Why Black Men Choose White Women, and the book Nigga Please. These books have raised eyebrows across the country. She has authored 21 books and published 350 titles for authors nationwide. Check Dr. Rosie out at drrosie.com for her books, articles, and archives of her internet talk show. Sit at the feet of wisdom. Dr. Milligan is indeed a timekeeper and scorekeeper. She is the clock, calendar, and almanac for Black America. You need to hear her.
Sunny California, not so sunny today, but we're still sunny California. You listen to the Express Yourself Hour. I am your host, Dr. Rosie Milligan, coming to you live with nothing but straight talk. You know how we do it around here. It ain't nothing but straight talk. My co-hosts are, well, I have two. The first one, they call him the AI man. They really believe he's artificial intelligent. They don't believe he exists. Nobody have found him yet. But anyway, he does exist. Good morning, Keith. How are you?
Good morning. And I'm looking for my upgrade.
Hello. You're looking for your upgrade.
I'm looking for my upgrade. So the AI will get smarter as we go along.
Well, you doing okay this morning?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Like
it's not too hot.
We're getting ready to get some fall weather. I'm liking that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We certainly are. That's for sure.
Well, great. Keith, and I see Shawana jumped on. She's a real estate guru. So this show ought to be right down your alley because we don't do something about these taxes. You ain't going to have no real estate to sell. So you better get your petitions real quick. Okay, how you doing, Shawana?
Oh, my gosh. I'm doing fantastic, Dr. Rosie. I know real estate is starting to change. People need to make some changes and know exactly what's going on.
Absolutely.
You know what I suggest, Dr. Rosen?
What?
We need to come together and start buying property together as a team because, otherwise we're going to just be knocked out. I think everybody should, maybe buy apartment buildings and things like that so that our properties aren't sold to someone else.
Yeah, at least the families should do that. Well, I'm glad you jumped on this morning. I know you're so busy selling houses and buying houses. But we got a great show for you today. I have a friend of mine who I'm welcoming back, who I met a few years ago. And I tell you, I just been diehard trying to keep up with her and trying to be a part of what she's doing because what she's doing is so awesome. It's going to protect us for the future. It's going to make a big difference in not just our life today, but our children's life. So my guest today is Miss Susan Shelley. She's the Vice President of Communication for the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, the most influential taxpayer advocacy group in California. She's also a columnist and editorial writer for the Southern California News Group and 11 daily papers. Susan frequent guests on Southern California radio and TV news and interview shows. And she's the co-host of the Howard Jarvis Podcast for KABC. Good morning, Susan.
Good morning, Dr. Rosie. A pleasure to be with you as always.
I am so happy to have you here today, as always. And you guys, we have a great show for you. Our topic today is so timely. It's called Stop the Death Tax for Property that robs children of their inheritance. And we need to do that now. This is an urgent show and an urgent call for action. You know, a lot of people, they just want to stay home and talk. It's funny because, Susan, I tell people when they start talking about, well, you know, a lot of people stay home now since COVID. I said a lot of people been staying home all the time when it comes to getting out and taking action. But it's time to move out and take action now. It's time to stop the economic hemorrhage caused by Prop 19. Parents should be able to transfer their homes and other property to their children without triggering reassessment and a huge tax increase. So we have someone who knows all about this, who's at the forefront. And I want Susan to tell us, for those who have forgotten when you heard the show before, what are we trying to do? What do we need the people to do right now?
Right now, you can download an official legal petition in your house and print it on your home computer printer. Or you can go over to Staples or Office Depot or some store like that that has a printer shop and go in and say, I want to print this from the internet. Here's the address. I want to print this file. And they'll do it for you if you don't have a printer at home. Or you can call our office and we'll send it to you. But what we're doing is we're going to put something on the ballot to protect families from losing their property when somebody passes away. Because what happened here is that the voters were tricked in 2020 into passing a huge property tax increase on generational wealth, on property that's passed from parent to child. It's a huge tax increase. The way it works is in California, for as long as you own your property, you're protected by Proposition 13 from having huge increases in your property tax bill. It can only go up a limited amount every year. It can only go up 2% a year. Well, without Prop 13, it gets reassessed to current market value, which in some neighborhoods is crazy high, and then you owe taxes on these paper profits. You don't have any money necessarily to pay those paper profit taxes, but you owe the taxes. So what's happening is that because of Proposition 19, when somebody passes away and their kids inherit the property, it's reassessed to market value. For 30-some years, that wasn't the case. Parents were allowed to pass property to their children. It did not count as a change of ownership for tax purposes. It was still in the family. Now it does. So with only limited exceptions, and with a cap on even those exceptions, it's reassessed to market value, and that is forcing people who own duplexes and apartment buildings and small businesses who inherit them after their parents built up that whole business and wanted it to take care of their family, they're being forced to sell because they can't pay those taxes. So we're going to fix it.
Wow. So, Susan, what you're saying is when you say all property, before Prop 19, say if I had 2 homes and I had a commercial building, I had a business, were all those properties protected under 13?
It was actually, yes, they were. They were all protected under Prop 13, but when they were inherited, the parents' residence, no matter how much it cost, no matter what the value was, no matter who lived in it or whether it was a rental property later, that was protected completely. The tax bill stayed the same. And then in addition to that, up to $1 million of assessed value, that's the value on the tax bill, not the market value, $1 million of assessed value was also protected. So that was not reassessed. So that covered a lot of property. That would cover a small apartment building that's been in the family for a number of years, and there would be no tax increase at all when the kids inherited it. So that's gone now. Now, if you inherit your parents' principal residence and you want to keep the tax break, you have to move into it and make it your primary residence. You have to do that within 1 year, and then you have to stay forever, because if you ever decide you want to move out and rent it, the property taxes will be jacked up again.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty harsh.
So you have to stay there forever.
You have to stay there. Well, yes, if you move out and you want to keep the property and it's no longer your principal residence, then the property tax is reset to the market value as of the date of transfer, the date you inherited, plus that 2% a year that it's allowed to go up.
Wow.
So it's just a huge tax increase, because if you bought a property years ago for $300,000, let's say, and today it's worth $600,000, well, that's going to double the property taxes. And it's very harsh.
Yeah, I think about that, like people who bought property in Leimert Park. Well, Keith, those properties, the parents may be paying like maybe $500 a month, probably for less if they bought a long time ago. Right. But if they buy that property now, it's over $1 million, they're going to be looking at $1,200 or $1,300 per month for taxes. Yes. Yeah. Right. And God forbid that they have done like a lot of people went in and had a little equity and pull money out and have a note on it. I mean, that's a total setup for some property to be lost. But Susan, I want to clarify this, because someone asked me the other day, and you did mention a duplex, triplex, whatever it is, anything other than a single family dwelling. Well, the parents certainly could not live in, if it's a duplex, they can only live on one side. So are we talking about half of that property being reassessed even if the child moves in?
Yes. Happen.
Right.
Wow. Oh, that's just.
And if it's an apartment building and you have 8 units and you only move into one of them, then 7/8 is reassessed as well. Right.
That can still cause those behind to lose that property. Especially when you can't raise the rent and the tax went up.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the biggest land grab, whatever you want to call it. Go ahead.
It is, and people didn't realize, I don't think everybody realized the effect this would have long-term on affordable housing in California generally, because all these mom-and-pop owned buildings are going to pass to their kids. Mm-hmm. So in one generation, these rent-controlled buildings could end up demolished. And it's devastating, because what's going to go up in their place? Well, whatever it is, it's not going to be affordable.
Right.
You know, I have to say, I want to step in here, because a lot of times we have these props that come up, and it sounds real good. When Prop 19 came available, there were 2 different things, pros and cons. And the pro was something else, and the con was, yes, your taxes will go up. But the pro outweighed the cons to some people. And you get that letter in the mail saying, you know, vote this way, vote that way. And I kept telling people, please do not vote this way on Prop 19. Mm-hmm. But they insisted, when they sent out that paper, they insisted to vote yes on it. On everything that they gave, all the paperwork that I received, it kept saying vote yes on it. But what we need to do is stop looking at what is received in the mail when these propositions are coming out. Stop looking at what looks good in the beginning and read thoroughly through it, because a lot of times those things will hurt us in the long run. And I knew Prop 19 was a huge one, and I really advocated against Prop 19, and of course it passed, and it was very upsetting to me that it passed.
You almost won, though. It barely passed. It barely passed. And, you know, I credit people like you for getting the word out as much as you did. It wasn't enough against $50 million of TV advertising and mail and the rest of it that said what you're saying.
We got to stop voting the way they tell us to vote. We need to read the propositions. I mean, my friend was texting me. A lot of people were texting me how to vote on these propositions. Mm-hmm. And I told her, please stop sending the propositions and telling people how to vote. Let people read. But what we need to do as a community, especially since we have a voice here with Dr. Rosie, we need to start reading. And when the propositions come out, we need to start reading the propositions, regardless of the way they tell us to vote. We need to read it out to people, because a lot of people will not read it, and they will still vote the way they're told to vote. And we need to stop voting the way we're told to vote and vote the way we should vote.
Right, because
you're so right.
You have people who are pushing issues only because the politician came to that church. They haven't even read it themselves. Mm-hmm. They do the same thing that some of the physicians do when pharmaceuticals come in and tell them about a new medication. They haven't even researched it. They start prescribing it. We got to take, have to do better, and then we have to put a demand in that no more trickery. It doesn't make sense. Why do we have to be tricked when it comes down to election? That doesn't make sense. It's time out for that, because it's hurting too many people. But right now, Susan, let me give the number out for those who want to call us. We have a big job to do with getting these petitions signed and making sure that people register. And I like the way it's set up now, Susan. I think this is going to start something where people can download a petition, you know. So I think this is really wonderful. But we're going to have an accountability that people we talk to, make sure, ask them, you know, are you registered to vote? Did you move? Did you change counties? We're going to have to go a step further this time to assure that we're getting a good petition signed. And everybody should, I expect to at least get 1,000 assigned personally. And I think everybody else need to be out there with everybody you know. We need to hit the churches. Every organization should be involved with making sure we get these signatures. So, Susan, you want to tell us about that and how much time we have?
I would absolutely love to. Thank you. Well, if all you have to do is go to repealthedeathtax.com, repealthedeathtax.com, and click the link that says download the petition. And when you do that, you'll get a PDF file, which is 5 pages. The last page is a petition, and the rest of it is helpful information and full instructions on how to do it. There's even a mailing label that you can just cut out and tape to an envelope so that you can mail it back really easily. And the key to this whole thing is that we made this fit on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. This fits on a regular letter-sized sheet of paper, any kind of paper you have in your printer. And you can print this petition at home, and that is legally valid. That's a big deal because in the past what we tried to do, we had an 8.5 by 14. It was multiple pages. It had lots of text in it. We were able, through the great team of at Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, we were able to boil it down to fix this problem with text that fits on one page. So you can print the legal petition at home, then you just fill it out, and you are the circulator of it. Normally there's someone who's out there with a clipboard. They're the circulator, but you are the circulator when you do this yourself at home. So you sign it with your name, residential address, and your signature. And then you go to the bottom, and there's a declaration of circulator. You just fill that out, same information, the date that you signed it. You sign the declaration of circulator, you're done. You put it in an envelope, you mail it back to the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, and then you spread the word. Tell everyone you know to go to repealthedeathtax.com and download the petition. If we do this up and down the state of California, we think we can get 2 million signatures doing this. We need about 875,000 valid signatures, but of course you have to get more than that because they're not always valid. Sometimes there's a mistake or whatever. But if you follow the instructions, it's really easy. And you can do this in your house. You can do this at Staples or Office Depot. You can have your relatives and your friends do it. You can print extra petitions and give them to people. It's very easy. You can print as many as you want. You can circulate as many as you want. And you can collect as many signatures as you want.
Well, we're definitely going to print some here, at my business and have 4 people. That's my commitment. We're definitely going to print about 500 of those petitions down. And anyone, if you can't print it down on your computer, you can come by and pick up one. Fill it out right here. And I'll be so gracious, I'll even mail it in for you, okay? That's my commitment for this to change. Let me get the number out. It's 310-928-7733. To call us here, that's 310-928-7733. Or you can email us here at innerlightradio@yahoo.com. That's INNER. innerlightradio@yahoo.com. And you can talk to Ms. Susan Shelley. You may have questions, you may have comments, and I hope you are on fire like I am to make a change and especially you got any and everybody you know in real estate that really care about people. I'm going to put it that way, really cares about people, need to get involved with this because, wow. If the homes are lost in your community where you're doing business, that means that your children have a lesser chance to participate in the business that you're in. We have Larry Springs, who's a realtor with Consolidated Realtor Board. He's a strong supporter. Susan know who Larry is. Larry's been out there pushing this just like me. Larry, open your mic and go ahead and make your comments.
Good morning. Did I open my mic?
Yes, you did.
Yes. Hi, Larry.
Okay. Good morning. Good morning, Susan. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for calling in.
Great. And Dr. Rosie, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I am a strong advocate of this petition and making sure that it's taken care of. Here at Consolidated Board of Realtors, we're a realtors organization, and our mission is about democracy in housing and making sure that our families are able to prosper on the generational wealth and generational wealth actually comes from real property. So that's what we advocate, and we are a strong advocate of this particular petition. And what we can do is we can come to our real estate board. We have our weekly meetings and give that information on. Matter of fact, Susan, we can put you on screen and you can do a presentation here at our board on live. It's called streaming, I guess that's what it's called.
Go ahead.
That would be great.
We can do that. And also we are having our state conference in October. So I'm sure somebody is going to get in contact with you to actually come to our state conference and give that information.
Oh, I'd love to.
Well. So
that would be wonderful.
I'm here to support Dr. Rosie for sure and her staff, and of course you, Susan. I'm here to support you as well, and the board of realtors is here to support you as well. So whatever we can do to make this happen, don't hesitate, and we will make sure it's done.
And Larry,
Well, thank you.
I sent the information to Eric up in Emeryville.
Yes.
I sent the information about the show and about the proposition. So I'm trying to spread the word wherever anybody I know that could be able to help. So hopefully, they'll be on fire about it too.
Okay, very good. I'm going to connect you with our state president, both Susan and Dr. Rosie, so that way you can have a conversation with them. That way they're aware of what we want to do or what needs to happen. So I'll make sure that contact our state president so you guys can all talk to each other.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you, Larry.
Okay, thank you. Good morning to everyone.
Okay. You guys, I don't know if you know how serious this is. Just think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Think about if I relocated in Texas.
Yeah.
My parents died.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can't move back. Or even I have a home here. Mm-hmm. So am I supposed to move out of my home to move in that home to protect it? Mm. This makes no sense at all. When parents have worked and sacrificed, I mean great sacrifice, so they can leave something for their children. And a system is set up to deprive them of that inheritance. Mm-hmm. It's something so wrong about that.
Yeah,
so wrong.
The thing is, and I don't know if you guys know this, but they said with the boomers and some of the silent generation, right? It's going to be they're talking about somewhere like over $100 trillion will be transferred in wealth, over the next 10, 15 years when the boomers start to die out, and this is probably why this is being put in place. They say it's the biggest transfer of wealth in United States history.
Well, it's so unfair.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Susan.
It's just so unfair because people work their whole lives to leave something for their kids. You pay mortgage payments for 30 years on a property, and taxes and maintenance and all the rest. And if you're a housing provider, then you're providing affordable housing to tenants. And that's not something that should be penalized. That's not something where the government people. That's not right.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the only reason this will not pass is because we do not get it in the face of enough people. That's why it should become everybody's business to make. How can you not let it be your business when you have loved ones, you have children? It's just a matter of getting it out there. And I know people with big dollars, they're going to be doing what they do. But you know what? Something showed us in the mayoral race just here in California that money don't always buy the land.
Yeah, that's true.
Did y'all hear what I said? Because we had a person running, had mucho money. But Cam Bass was able to win that election. Now, one reason I was glad that happened, only because it sends a message that the people with the money is not going to always win in the eyes of the people. So that was a good move. We cannot let all these flashy advertisements, because we see more people on a daily basis and weekly basis than really pay attention to some of these advertisements. one-on-one is going to be the best way for us to win this. And I want all of us and everyone listening to make a personal commitment. And like I said, we will have petitions here. I will have my staff to make 500 copies of the petition. So if you can't run it off yourself, feel free to come and pick it up, and you can leave it here. We will even mail it off. That's my commitment.
Thank you so much.
I'm just serious about this business. Okay?
Well, we've done everything we can to make this really easy for people, because if you don't make it easy, then it gets expensive. And this is not the kind of thing where special interests are going to come in and write us a $10 million check to do this. This is for regular people. Yeah. So we're doing this with small donations, and we're doing this with sweat equity. You know, we're out there just pounding the pavement and calling and emailing and telling people about it. And you can do this in your own house. So even if COVID has you nervous about going out and talking to strangers outside a supermarket, you don't have to do that. You can just print this or get it from Dr. Rosie. You can just pick it up, fill it out, mail it back. It's really easy.
I love it. Just one page, you guys. I mean, that just is so simple. I love the way you all did that. And they can email it to their friends so they can do it. I mean, this is a win-win, Keith. This is a one page, downloadable. You can forward it to your friend. You can pick one up here at the store. Yeah. I mean, we got to do this. We got to do this.
We need about 1 million signatures, and we need them by the middle of January. We have to turn them into the counties in February, so we kind of need them back at the Howard Jarvis office by the middle of January. So that's enough time, I think, to just get the word out. If you just email everybody, and then they email everybody, and you send that link, repealthedeathtax.com. That's all you have to remember, repealthedeathtax.com, and download it, fill it out, send it in. We'll get those signatures, and we'll get this on the ballot. And once it's on the ballot, we are very confident that it will pass.
I am too, because people are hurting. People who have apartments who try to be fair with their rents, who have not hiked the rents up. Now, many of them cannot increase their rent under rent control. And you're talking about tax going up additional $1,000. And if you're talking about homes that into the millions, Susan, someone that was on your call last week mentioned, I think, like, tax had gone up like 30,000 from 3,000 or 10,000 or something like that, because the house was probably at a very low rate when the person bought it, and now it's in the millions. So can you imagine, Keith, what the taxes is on a $2 million home?
Wow, yeah.
And no one can control that. It is. No one can control that. You know, if somebody's building something in your neighborhood and your values go up, that should be a good thing. It shouldn't be like you get a bill for it. Yeah. So it's frustrating to have these mixed signals. You know, it's like, great, the property is more valuable, you made a good investment, but oops, you're going to get a tax bill, and you're not necessarily going to have the cash to pay it because it's paper profits.
Yeah.
You know, Susan, I think all these people with testimonies personally, how they're about to lose their property or how they're struggling, I think we should capture their testimony, because just 30 seconds. I mean, 30 seconds are no longer like a 60-second video, and it needs to be up so people can see, they can feel. Sometimes people need to see the pain, feel the hurt. A personal testimony, you know, about this is what happened to me. I think that, and we send the people to YouTube, wherever we post that, I think that will do the trick, because that's what happened with Prop 19 when people start talking about folks who, you know, were burned out with the fires and the firemen. It got to be a way where people can see the sympathy and the empathy.
Right. No, you're exactly right. We're gonna try to do that. That's a great idea.
Yes. Yeah, especially when someone talking about their property going up $30,000 a year.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that can easily happen.
And let me just say that what we're doing here does not change the benefits for wildfire victims or seniors who want to move to a new home. We're not touching that part of Prop 19. We're only reversing the tax increase that was hidden inside it. And I really think if people had known it was a tax increase, it would never have passed.
Right. And what I like about this also, Susan, that we're trying to have it so that those people who got that tax increase, that it can be rescinded, right?
Yes. Thank you for mentioning that.
That's big.
It's retroactive. If you got stuck with a parent-child transfer reassessment,
right,
you will be able to get your original trended base year value, is what they call it, your original Prop 13 value back again. So it won't be automatic. You'll have to make a claim form if you want it. For some reason, I guess some people might not want it, so there has to be a claim form. But you will be able. You'll be able to get your Prop 13 value back again because this is retroactive.
Oh, I'm loving it. Keith, there's something on the board. Can you read it? And those who are listening, you can call 310-928-7733. That's 310-928-7733. And Keith, before you read that, we have someone, I believe, on hold, 310-405. Go ahead. 310-405. Go ahead. Open your mic.
310-405. I guess they're just listening.
Okay. Go ahead. Read what's on the board.
Okay. This is from D, and she says, it's more than unfair. It's criminal. These crooks are just stealing more money and assets from the American people. America is morbidly in debt. Productivity is being controlled by China, so the economy is bankrupt and folks are reduced down to criminal activities. Even lawmakers. And that's from D from Facebook. That is true. And you know, the criminal thing is that there are a lot of older folks, you know, like myself, that are trying to save the property because your children will not be able to live in California if you don't.
Absolutely.
Don't pass it on to them, right? But they don't have the jobs to pay the tax. No kid can pay, $30,000 a year in taxes. You know, they can barely afford rent. So you basically you're basically undermining what the parents are trying to do. Because I know lots and lots of older folks, man. They could sell the houses, take the money, move out of state, move out of the country, whatever they want to do. But they're trying to hold on to the property and pass it down to their children so their children can live in this expensive state. And what they're doing is basically stealing from the child's inheritance. That's really what they're doing. And there's a lot of children there's a lot of millennials that don't have they had the education, but the thing is there's not enough the job increase or salary increase to actually keep up with this what I call these emerald cities like San Francisco and Los Angeles and places like that. And I know the government wants to extract money from the thing. At some point you got to have regular people live here, and a lot of parents that have, like I said, owned their homes for 40 years could sell the house for $1 million, $1.5 million, or whatever it is, whatever the price increase it is, and take that money. But the thing is, they're trying to pass it down so that the kids can actually be able to live in the state that they grew up in, and that's why I think it's criminal. It really is.
Exactly. And, this protection was put in place in 1986. The parent-child transfer protection was put in place in 1986. And guess who put it on the ballot? The legislature unanimously put it on the ballot. And the reason they did it unanimously is because inflation at the time was pushing up prices.
Right.
And when people were inheriting property, they couldn't afford to keep it. So the legislature was
of Prop 19?
I'm speaking of Prop 58 in 1986.
58,
I remember that.
58. Okay,
58. So those are the old rules that we had that Prop 19 took away, and we are putting them back. We're going to reinstate Prop 58's rules. And also, 10 years later, those same rules were extended to grandparents and grandchildren if the children's parents were deceased. So Prop 19 took that away. Well, thanks a lot for that. I mean, these are people who've already had enough tragedy in their lives, and now you're going to give them a tax increase, so they have to sell the property. It's terrible.
Right. It is.
It's horrible.
It is. So we're going to put the old rules back. We're going to put the old rules back.
When Biden was being elected for presidency, and he stood up there, and I don't know if you guys remember when they showed all the buildings going green. They showed these big high rises. They're like, this is what our plans are. We're going to be building all these high rises. Everything's going to be green. And I was just thinking to myself, well, where are they going to get all this property from? And this is where they're taking the properties so that they can build on them. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
And we're not going to be able to afford them because a lot of the properties that you're saying the low number is $500,000 and $600,000, but these properties are worth over $1 million now. So it's really going to play really hard into the people. And I mean, they even tried to do that. They even tried to put another proposition, and they're going to try to do it again when it comes time. The proposition was any building that's worth over $3 million, whether it's sold or not, was supposed to get reassessed. But that didn't pass. No. That proposition didn't pass. But they're going to try to put it back on again because they used Prop 19 for the senior citizens. The senior citizens got age 55 and over, got something. So that's why Prop 19 passed. But we really have to be cautious. We really have to get on Facebook. We have to get on all the social medias. We have to do our radio show that we do all the time. And we have to really go through all these propositions, especially when it's time to start voting, and start talking about each one of them and why we should vote one way or the other, and say what the pros and cons are, and figure out, okay, is it good to give it to the 55-year-old or good to give it to the kids? I think it's good to give it to the kids.
Yeah. Here what's going to happen. I think voters this time around, Susan, are going to be voters beware because people realize of the trickery now. I think it was pointed out to them more so than ever before how important it is not to wait till 2 weeks before the election and people start holding meetings to discuss it. No, this has to be discussed way ahead of time. But voters are more aware now.
And young folks need to get on board.
But you do know that
this,
Prop 19.
Yeah, young folks need to get on board.
Prop
with
19.
Prop
19 came available. I'm sorry, Prop 19 became on the ballot like 3 weeks before it came out. They came up with this idea 3 weeks before it came out. So it was just something they thought about, and they just threw it together. And they voted on it totally wrong.
At the toughest time in history, on the backs of COVID. We have something on the board, Keith.
Okay, this is
technician, whoever have the phone open, you're gonna have to hang up on them. If your mic is open, he's gonna have to hang up on you. Go ahead, Keith.
Okay, this is from Brother Dr. J. He says, when the parents sell their homes, their adult children, whether they live with them or currently or not, may have to move to the next location with them, as they won't be able to afford to stay in California.
That's true.
They're going to have to go on to Mississippi with them, huh?
They're going to have to go to Mississippi or Africa or wherever else the parents go to live with them.
Well, I hope everybody gets along well in the family because we're all going to have to stick together under these tax laws.
You hit it right on the head. So at least if I could leave my house and it wouldn't tax my children out, at least 2 or 3 of them could move in there together. Because if you're renting, here in L.A., you cannot afford the rent. You can't right now. A lot of people can't afford to buy because the interest rate. So what are you supposed to do? And you can't afford to have your little, what do you call these things on the street, mobile homes or whatever. So it's going to be illegal to live, I guess, unless you're rich. It's going to be a crime to be poor.
That's horrible. That's horrible.
We have so much work to do. They are. And, a lot of jobs are leaving California because the regulations and a lot of the stuff that isn't necessary. I think we should go through all the regulations and say, was this a good idea? Does this still work for us? And, take out the ones that don't, that are causing problems, and try to keep the jobs here.
You know what the biggest reason that they're moving out of California is that the workers find it too expensive to live here, and they're having a problem with attracting workers. In fact, with remote work since COVID, a lot of employees have moved out of the state and working remote and refuse to come back. Because there's one guy on YouTube. He goes through like Oakland and Northern California, just showing all the empty storefronts because people aren't shopping there anymore because people are leaving because it's too expensive. That's why it makes no sense. Why are you trying to drive people out of the state? Because essentially that's what you're doing.
It's true. And the effect on apartment buildings, I don't know how many millions of units there are in California that are owned by individuals, not by corporations, but by individual people who thought it would be a good investment to do rental property. And they're under rent control. And because the property taxes are held low under Prop 13, it's an affordable deal. It's a viable business model. It works for people. Mm-hmm. Well, if you lift that cap on the property taxes when that building is inherited, and all of a sudden this building in Los Angeles or Santa Monica or the Bay Area, or now it goes to full market value, these old apartment buildings from the 60s and 70s and 80s, it's totally unaffordable.
Right.
So those buildings are going to be sold because the new owner will also have rent control and won't be able to raise the rents. So it's just going to be sold and demolished. Mm-hmm. And then how does that help our affordable housing situation in California?
It doesn't, especially with all the homelessness that we have. We should be looking at every way possible to keep people in their home. And believe it or not, in the forecast, as you look at it, you guys, it's be hard enough for people to hold on to under normal circumstances. Because make no mistake about it, AI, I don't care what anybody say, it's going to not only put many people will not have jobs, but it's the same thing with businesses, because some of the services that businesses was doing and performing will no longer be needed. So we're looking at jobs and businesses that's going to be highly impacted in the next few years just from artificial intelligence. Mm-hmm. And we don't need anything else to take money out of people's pockets where they can't live. Look like we'll be forever trying to fix the homeless problem in L.A. because time you get one person in, another one is coming out on the streets.
Yeah.
That's true. Well, we're going to fix this problem because with this petition that people can download at home from repealthedeathtax.com, you can sign it, you can get other people to sign it, you can send it in, and when we get 1 million signatures, we will get this on the ballot in November 2024. And then we will pass, we'll put the old rules back.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry,
How many do we have now? How many do we have
just
now?
started.
We just
started. Oh. Yeah, we just started a week ago.
Not too long ago.
We tried to do this.
Someone else doing this?
We were trying to do this last year.
Yeah, and we didn't get enough signatures.
We didn't get enough signatures. But now more people know about this problem, so I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be faster.
Someone said in San Francisco, Market Street.
Yeah.
It's almost a ghost town.
It's a ghost town. Yeah.
Being because of what? What is he saying?
Because a lot of the residents that were there left. Okay, and they're not coming to the office, so they're doing a lot of remote work. So so basically all the people that used to shop and become part of the ecosystem, they're not there anymore. And the people that would normally shop there, they were middle class people. They can't afford to live anymore. So now it's a ghost town. It's a perfect storm. The people that could afford to live there, that have high earnings. Okay, they said it's not affordable to them because too much of their money goes to taxes and whatever. So they're working remotely, and the people that are middle class can afford to live there. So they basically vacated the city. They moved to less expensive places. So that's what's happening. Oakland the same way. Oakland, San Jose, San Francisco. The same way. New York City, you can go through the same way. They're going through the same kind of crisis. At some point, something's got to give. And in a law like this, which makes no sense if you're a legislator, because you're actually undermining your own tax base, because people will move. People are not going to stay here and suffer. They will move.
Well, they won't have any choice.
They won't have any choice. Yeah.
If I were a younger person thinking of buying a home and thinking about my family, first thing would come to me as soon as I get out of college, it'd be relocating, and I think that's what's going to happen, Susan, with a lot of young people.
Yeah,
they realize I can't do it here.
Did you know that over the past 2 years, the average home price has doubled over the past 4 years? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, one thing I believe we are going to pass it, Susan. I know you know that we're going to do it. I want to repeat again, you guys. This is a no-brainer winner. 1-page petition. You guys hear me? 1-page petition with not a lot of information you have to fill in. It just have to be done right. You can download and print it.
Mm-hmm.
You can email it to your friends. You can text repeal the death tax.com.
Mm-hmm.
You can tweet it out. You can just get it out, folks. I've never seen anything put together so good, Susan, and so simple. Absolutely incredible.
Hello.
Thank you.
Hello.
We wanted to make it.
I want her number, Dr. Rosie.
Caller? Okay, sure. Caller, go ahead.
This is Larry Springs calling in again. Couple of things. Number one is it is very simple, very easy to get the information. You go to, as you well mentioned, repealthedeathtax.com, and then once you pull it up, the information is already there. It tells you exactly what to do. I've already completed mine, and I'm getting ready to put it in the mail. So I've already done mine. So it's really a simple process. Just download it, and the information is there. It tells you where to sign it, and put the dates and your name. It's as easy as they say on there, 1, 2, 3. So
all right.
Very, very simple, Susan. Very good program that you have here. I just want to ask you a couple of questions. One of the questions that I have is in regards to once you put your property in a living trust, are we protected because our property is in a living trust? I have all my properties in a trust, in a living trust. Thank you, Dr. Rosie, in a living trust. So if we pass, what would happen at that particular time?
Well, unfortunately, trusts do not protect you from property tax reassessment because it has always been the case that the assessors look through the trust to see who are the present beneficial owners. So depending on how the trust is structured, the parent could be the owner, the child could be the owner, but that's what the assessors look at. So what was actually protecting people for 30-some years were the old rules that we had under Proposition 58 from 1986. That's what protected people when parents and children were transferring property in a trust. It wasn't the trust, it was Prop 58. And now it's gone, but we're going to put it back.
Absolutely. And Larry, I'm glad you asked that question because it's really important for people to understand. Even now, when you transfer property from the trust, the assessors want you to send them a copy of that trust because they want to make sure that it was a child that was the beneficiary of that trust. You used to didn't have to send that, but you have to do that. And Susan, I think the other part about that question that he's asking, say the person left that property in the trust, so we're not going to take it out of the trust because we don't want this to happen. And then later on, they try to sell that property. Okay, from the date of death of that parent, they can go back and reassess you at the current market value from that date. They have had people, Larry, to try to sell a piece of property and end up having $60,000 reassessment tax to pay because they didn't take it out the trust to avoid something like that.
Right. And then also they have a law too that as soon as the person passes, you're supposed to submit all the paperwork to the tax assessor's office along with your trust. And then they'll reassess. But if you don't do it, they'll reassess it when they reassess it, and they charge you interest.
Yeah.
And they charge you interest. So, yeah.
Well,
Larry,
it's really rough
because Go ahead,
a lot of people who would like to sell property that they inherited, that's their choice, they get stuck, as you said, with a year of these higher property taxes because the new value kicks in on the date of transfer, which is the date of inheritance. Right. And if it takes you a year to settle the estate, list, and sell that property and close escrow, you owe those higher property taxes for the whole year. It's very, very burdensome on people. And at the worst possible time, from a human point of view, to do this to people when they've just lost a parent is so cruel. It's so vicious. And I feel bad for the assessors. The people in the assessor's office are having to make these phone calls and having to send these letters, and it's awful for them. It's awful for everybody.
It is, and soon you cannot transfer the property if it's tied up in probate, and it can be in probate 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 years.
Oh, and then you would have the taxes for 5 years. The higher taxes would be owed for 5 years.
Yeah,
exactly.
Terrible.
So when you finish the probate fee and all the other stuff and the tax that you need to pay, you may not have nothing coming after probate. Wow, that's scary.
It's very scary.
Oh my God.
And it's hurting regular people. You know, a lot of people think about estate taxes and death taxes as only affecting really wealthy people. But this is regular people who bought maybe one house that they wanted to use as a rental for income, and they're living in a different house, or they have a triplex and they're living in one unit. It's devastating them when the kids inherit these properties. And the small businesses like restaurants, the immigrant families who worked for 2 generations to build a small business and they own the property, and the parents pass away, and now that business property reassessed to current market value, which no one can control. It's just as high as it wants to go, it goes. And then the kids owe taxes on that. Well, coming out of the pandemic, how is a restaurant owner supposed to recoup that money to pay those taxes? There's no way.
And Susan, it makes no sense. If I live in a duplex, I bought it. You know, a lot of these people, that extra income, you know, is part of their retirement. But I don't see how they could have come up, you guys, with making, reassessing the other part of the duplex. Now, you can't get any lower than that. That's about as cold as, I mean, that's
oh my God.
Think about
Can you believe
now,
it?
I bought this property so I could leave it to my children. And the part that I don't live in, now how low down can you go?
That you can do 7/8. If you have an 8-unit building, 1/8 is only applicable, and the other 7/8, they're going to reassess it.
That's right. And if you move out of the 1/8, that gets reassessed too. So it's just really, it's really vicious. They go all the way back and they start over again and they reassess it. It's terrible.
Day to death. That's why we say stop the death tax on property.
Yes.
It is the death tax on property that robs children of their inheritance. Lord have mercy. These kids already
that should be the headline right there. Stop the death tax that robs the children of their inheritance. Yeah. Look at this download I'm sending you. We should just be doing email blasts left and right, letting everybody know. They make it easy for them. They don't even have to go to repealthedefttax.com. Here's the download right here. Fill this out. Send it in. Tell me that you sent it in. Send me proof that you sent it in. Let's get as many people as possible to sign this paperwork so that we can have it reassessed, redone.
I'm just thinking right now, folks, we're in the worst economic time in a long time. Here we have children coming out of college. Let me stop saying children. Men and women coming out of college. Already not being able to find wage livable jobs. Not able to even rent an apartment with a PhD, college degree, and a school loan that the government is not willing to try to pardon to help you. Something is so sick about this.
It's the 1970s all over again.
And now
1970s all over again.
I don't have anything, and now I can't inherit and continue what my parents have worked hard for. How could you consciously go to sleep at night, put in something like this over the people? I'm just thinking about that for the next generation. Wow.
Yeah, you're so right. It was so deceptive. The advertising campaign was so tricky, and it was so full of lies and omissions, and it's just wrong to do that to the voters. At the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, we look at all the ballot measures that are going to be presented to the voters, and we summarize them, and we offer recommendations. So you can go to hjta.org, that's the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, hjta.org, and sign up for the free email alerts. And when it's election time, we'll send you our recommendations on what's on the ballot and what's going on, and make it a little bit easier to understand what some of these tricky things are really doing.
We need to talk about it. We don't need people to tell us what to do. We need to talk about
it.
Because we'll be stuck in that same trick bag again. I think we need to speak about it, not just give directions to people to tell them vote this way or vote that way. They really need to understand what they're voting on.
Yeah. They do.
And these tax issues, this is not left or right or red or blue. This is just your money. This is how it's going to affect your work and your money and your savings and your property. And we're all in the same boat. So everybody should be voting like a taxpayer.
Exactly. Oh my God, that's what they should be doing, voting like a taxpayer. Because it affects everyone, regardless of you being a property owner or not. It affects everyone. It does.
It does.
I mean, if you don't own property, look at it like
it still affects you.
Your children, as they're going to say in California, they are going to own property. This thing is not for a year. It's not something temporary. This will impact us as long as we're living in California.
And then what happens? What happens? Okay, say you're not a property owner. Say you want to go ahead and vote against
your cousin may be a property owner.
Who? It doesn't even matter. But who does it affect? If the property taxes go up, and you can't afford to pay the property taxes, those taxes, the rent is going to go up. Right. That's what I'm saying. You have to think about your rent too, because your rent will go up if the property taxes go up.
It impacts us all.
Mm-hmm.
It impacts
so to hurt us, everyone hurts everyone. Yes, definitely.
Well, we're going to fix this. We are going to fix. And you know what? We're going to send a message when we fix this that they can't be tricking voters like this, that we're not going to stand for it. And we're going to come back at them, and we're going to go to the ballot, and we're going to fix it. So repealthedeathtax.com, download the petition, send a message that we will not be tricked into tax hikes anymore.
That's it. Absolutely. Okay. Because, and we're going to make sure in our talking points that we're going to let that people don't realize, Susan, that this is driven to people who own property. We're going to fix it so that people who are paying rent will know, I need to vote, because if this doesn't change, I'm going to be paying more rent. We really got to hit the renters in our advertisement.
That's true.
Does that make sense, Susan?
Yeah.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. You're so right.
Yeah, because right now the renters may not see themselves as being a part.
No, they think that they're not affecting them, but it does. It affects them definitely in the long run.
So I think that's going to be a strong push, Susan, to find a way for the renters to know, y'all better vote, y'all better sign this. If you're renting, it's going to impact you. So I think that's a whole different way to look at it. What do you think, Susan?
I think so. I think everybody who lives in a building where they know the landlord personally should go talk to the landlord and ask about this. And they'll tell you that this is devastating.
Yeah. Don't even just ask about it. You guys need to vote. You guys need to vote against Prop 19 immediately. Don't even ask the property owner. It's going to affect you. Get on there, repealthedeathtax.com, download the paperwork, fill it out, send it in. We need to work together as a team so that we don't lose inheritance from our properties, because I know I have a lot of properties and I don't want my children to lose their inheritance. So I think everybody should think the same exact way, because, it affects everybody. It affects everyone. And we have to realize that.
This show is going to rebroadcast tonight at 6 p.m. For those who didn't get a chance to listen, you guys need to let them know they can go to innerlightradio.com at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and they can hear. Susan, will you recap just one more time? Give us closing and give us our marching orders.
Okay. Well, what we're doing is we're reversing the tax increase that was hidden inside Prop 19, because it's robbing people of their inheritances. It's forcing the sale of property by making property tax bills go up to an unaffordable level. So we're fixing it. Go to repealthedeathtax.com, download the petition, fill it out, send it in. We need 1 million signatures by the middle of January, and we will get this on the ballot, and we will fix this so people can continue to live in California and build generational wealth for their kids.
And you can pick up a petition here at my business. That's 1425 West Manchester Avenue, Suite B, LA 90047. That's 1425 West Manchester Avenue, Suite B, Los Angeles 90047. Susan, thank you so much for joining us and just telling us what we need to do. Like right now, I think we have a caller. We can take this last caller. Caller, go ahead. We are about out of time, but I'm going to take your call. Go ahead. Caller.
Going once. Going twice.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good
Okay,
morning.
there you are. Go ahead. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
I'm so sorry. I didn't know I was online. I was just calling to listen. Good day, Rosie Milligan. This is Lana Nash.
Lana, you know what's going on. We got to win it this time, baby.
Well, we're going to do what we can to get my church involved in some way. But hopefully we can do something to make a difference. Excuse me, I'm not used to having a phone where I can mute, so I'm not.
That's okay. You
That's
good.
okay.
But make sure you go to repealthedeathtax.com. The petition is downloadable. All you have to do is print it off, Lana. And if you have any problem, we're going to have some here at the office. It's a one page. I've never seen anything so simple. So we got to do it. As Susan said, not just the property owners, because a lot of people renting may feel like, well, I don't need to be involved, but we're going to push on and let them know, yes, does impact you, because the taxes go up on those apartments, on that house, then the rent is going to go up. So everybody is impacted. So we got to do this. Save the children.
Do what I can.
I know you will.
And I apologize.
That's okay. Thank you so much. If you have any problem, let me know.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, you guys, we're about out of time. Susan, I thank you again. Give that website again where they can go and print that one-page simple petition.
It's at repealthedeathtax.com. Repealthedeathtax.com.
Okay. I don't know. Everybody want to call in the last minute. Lynn Moses, go ahead. Got a minute.
Good morning, Sister Rosie. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good.
This issue is just so brilliant. I'm sorry for calling in at the last minute. Our show will be coming on in a few minutes, but this is so important. Our show coming up will be on purchasing real estate. And like you said, even the renters are going to be kicked. I think LA is like 60-70% renters.
Yeah.
And everybody, I don't know what Newsom and the government is trying to do, but they're going to bankrupt us all if we don't get on board. I just printed out the petition. I heard the program. I just printed out the petition. I want to encourage everybody to do it now, because if you turn off your computer, I'll do it later, you won't do it. Print it out now. Repealthedeathtax.com. Print it out, sign it, and mail it. So I just want to give some encouragement, please. Let's do this.
Thank you so much. Like you said, Lynn, it's impacting everybody. If you're renting, whatever you're doing, this is so critical. Okay? So thank you again, Lynn, and I'll try to tune into your show too. So, Susan, I can't thank you enough, and I know you're going to be at Taste of Soul, right?
Yes, we will be there. We'll be there with petitions. Everybody can drop by and sign.
Okay.
Great. So do you need help with people? You need some.
That would be sure. That would be great. You've got people who would like to be there. We'd be just glad to have the company. That would be wonderful.
Okay, you guys, if we don't do this, we don't need to say anything about anything that takes place. Just go on and sit down and let them do what you want to do. Let them come and get your kids and take them to the field, pick cotton. I mean, what's left? Susan, what's left if we don't do this? Come on, what's left?
Well, taxpayers have to fight back, and this is what we're doing. And you go to repealthedeathtax.com. It'll take you 10 minutes or less to fight back against higher taxes and protect your family.
Do it time you print it off. Do it right then. When your kids come home, have one in their hand, okay?
Right.
Your cousin come over, have one in their hand. Anybody stop by, have one in their hand. It needs to be at all your churches, all your organizations. We must do this. Susan, thank you for being on. Thank my co-hosts and all those who listen, those who are calling. And again, tonight at 6:00 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, there will be a replay. So all I can say is I check out here, folks. Do the right thing. And you know what that is. Print down that petition and send it in. Thank you, guys, and have a great day.
Thank you, Dr. Rosie.